The US was the place where you're going for holiday. You know, this is where you taking the family to New York, to Los Angeles, to Miami, and try to spend some quality time.
And then when you got there to New York, what was your first impression of it as a place to live?
I enjoyed it straight away. Had a couple of friends, been living in New York for a while, like York, who was playing with me in the French national team. So he really understood what New York was about. He made me understand the city quite really well and things to do in the city. And New York is a good place to live.
Why did you feel that the MLS was the right competition for you at that stage of your career?
I wanted to challenge myself moving from youth football to a professional football. I wanted to go to a league where I was getting more pressure and wanted to test more the philosophy that I wanted to implement. And of course, moving to NYC FC was a really good decision because I was surrounded by people who were prepared to give me a platform to really go to the next level.
And is there a different style of play or different tactics in the MLS to other leagues, or were you able to pretty much do exactly what you wanted to do?
No, I did what I really wanted to do with the people around. It's a different way of working, of course, because you have to take a lot of element into consideration when you're building your team. So the salary cap is one of them. So it's pushing you as a manager to really think about the priority and the quality that you want when you're building the team.
Was there anything that surprised you about the MLS as a league?
Yeah, I think it's a different level of players because you have players who came from South America, players from Europe who used to train every day, playing games every weekend, and you have players who came from the draft and been training 3-4 times a week. So they were different level of ability of players, and it's not something easy for a manager to build the team or to build the training session.
We think of getting a train up to Newcastle as a long trip, as an away game. But you must have travelled so many miles around the country. But are there any cities that you particularly enjoyed visiting? Any that you?
I loved Seattle. I think Seattle was a nice city to visit, and of course, being in the other side, you're always traveling like 3-4 days before, so you have time when you get there to visit the city. And Seattle was a nice place.
Near to there, Portland. What was that like with the guy who cuts the log behind the goal?
I was really surprised by the atmosphere, to be honest with you. Portland was a proper football stadium, a really good atmosphere, and of course a good team, because at my time there, they were one of the best teams in the league.
Life in the States for you in New York, what was it like for you compared to Europe? Were you able to walk around a little bit more freely than back here?
Yes, of course. Spending more time with the family, walking around, and you have the tourists, of course, who can stop and asking for a picture or for autograph, but majority of the time you can live your life in a really good way. What I mean by that is doing really what you want, walking around Central Park, going for a drink, going to have a dinner with the friends. So you enjoyed, and I enjoyed the last 2.5 years over there.
What was the best food you had out there? They have lots of big portions, don't they?
Big portions, double sizes. But yeah, I would say one of my favorite place was obviously a French restaurant in New York in the Trump Tower. That was a really good place.
Back to football, is there a bigger love for the game of football or soccer in America than British people maybe think there is?
Yeah, I think the British people or European people will be surprised by the passion of the game of soccer in the US. I think even myself, I was quite really surprised because we played different places and the stadiums, the atmosphere, people coming before or seeing the fans after the game. There is a passion over there that's growing every year, and I think the future will look really bright for the US soccer.
Away from soccer, did you manage to go and watch many American sports?
And I think this is, I will say, a plus living in New York, because you're going to Madison Square Garden, you're watching the ice hockey, you're going to the baseball, watching the Yankees play, you're going to watch the American football. If you love sport in general, you will be really pleased you're living in the US.
If you'd grown up there, what would your sport have been?
Basketball, but I've been to a couple of the ice hockey games, and it was a playoff, and I was really amazed by the passion and the game on himself, because that was the first time that I was watching a game live, and I was really into that kind of passion, excitement, and this is the sport that I discovered over there that I loved.
Yeah, there's a lot of tenacious players in ice hockey. It's almost like a whole team of Patrick Vieiras on the ice, isn't it? You signed Chris Richards. Can you see more and more American players having success over here in the Premier League now that the MLS is so good?
Yeah, in the Premier League, but in Europe, I think overall, I think there is a lot of Americans now coming at the early age in Europe and play the game and try to learn even more and try to develop themselves, to challenge themselves. And it's such a big country that I believe they will be successful in the near future.
And when you lived there, did you keep tabs on the Premier League by watching the coverage on NBC?
Yeah, I think living in the US, you always want to keep in touch with what's going on in the Premier League, and obviously watching NBC always knew what's going on in the UK and especially in the Premier League.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job promoting the game. Rebecca Lowe is the face of NBC's coverage. What do you think about her being a lifelong Eagle?
Yeah, just hoping that she will find the time and to come to watch the game and to keep supporting Palace.